Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers finally get that first preseason win. Who shined? We'll tell you next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends. No matter how or where you get your podcast, this one's always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 25,000 subscribers, Andy, are wondering, as I am, if is it shined, who shined, or who shone? I wasn't really sure after the cold open grammatically if I did that right. They're also
go home and get your shine box, Brian.
That grammatically is correct. But somebody in the comments, please, I think shined is correct, but if I should have gone shown, please let me know. I'm not even sure that's a word. Anyway, those 25,000 subscribers to the channel also interested in the preseason win on Thursday, I presume, 107-102. The Lakers do get off the schneid, as they say, and brought home by the fourth quarter young guys and some of the
Exhibit 10 guys,
future South Bay Lakers. There's something called an Exhibit 9 contract too. I recently read about. It's all very confused. None of these, not to sound like an old man, Andy, but none of these things existed when we first started in this business.
I believe, and I may be wrong about this, but based on who I've seen at least get Exhibit 9 contracts versus who gets Exhibit 10 contracts, I think Exhibit 9 contracts are for guys who've been in the league longer, have had more of an NBA career, probably has a certain amount of guarantees, certain respect level, whatever. But I believe that's actually because there's been a few guys who it's like, wow, that guy's getting an Exhibit 9. Like, I didn't even know that was possible.
Could be. One thing, Andy, that I do know is that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And so it was, a few things. We'll get into Dalton Connect and how his preseason has gone. Took a lot of shots in Thursday's game. Most of them did not go in, but we'll talk about why that matters. Talk about the enthusiasm the Lakers have shown in this preseason, and why that might be significant. But I mean, overall, look, it doesn't count the game, but it's nice. It is nice if you're going to play 6 of these things. You don't want to go 0-6. Like it's nice to win a game or two, get JJ Redick, a win, feel positive about yourself, have something to cheer for. And this is, I think, significant in the fourth quarter that keeps everyone on the team engaged and all that kind of stuff. So yes, does it really matter in the grand scheme of things the Lakers have a preseason victory? No, but it's still better to win than lose.
No. I actually disagree with you in the sense that it's a lot like what I've said about preseason in general and this preseason in particular. You are correct that the game does not count at all, but I think in the context of everything, A, that they're trying to get done in this preseason, and B, how this win eventually happened and what we saw during it, I actually think it does matter. I mean, first of all, it clearly mattered to all of the players out there, whether you're talking about LeBron and the starters who were on their feet for the entire fourth quarter and really animated watching the Quincy Olivaris and Armel Traores of the world, Colin Castleton, Maxwell Lewis, Jordan Goodwin for a little bit, like connect, bring in this win. I mean, they were really excited watching it. Gabe Vincent said afterwards that he made sure to grab the game ball to get it to JJ Redick because it is his first win as a coach. And, Vincent made no, I guess, bones about the idea that there is a certain amount of sentiment attached to it. But also, more importantly, just this is a franchise that over the last 4 or 5 years have treated preseason like little more than something they are required to do by the league, especially once people pay money to buy tickets to watch them play. And they have not treated it with any urgency. And tonight, in a lot of ways, felt emblematic and thematic of a group that has treated all of this like it matters. So I disagree with the idea that it doesn't really matter.
No, all I meant by that was that had they lost by a bucket, all the other stuff that you're talking about, other than I guess giving JJ Redick the game ball, all of that stuff still applies. Being engaged in the fourth quarter, cheering for the teammates, the good efforts potentially of the G League Lakers and all that stuff. All of that still happens. I'm just saying, like, they won 107-102, and they lost 108 to 107. I think most of what you're saying would still apply. But it is, I think, better to win than lose. There's a lot of stuff in there if you want to break it down. You know, Anthony Davis played 25 minutes, 11 points, 8 rebounds. Some of those numbers look okay, but was 5 of 14 from the floor. LeBron was 4 of 11 from the floor. D'Lo 3 of 10 from the floor. It was
Austin Reeves did not play. He sat out the game with some ankle soreness, and there were other guys like Christie and Cam Reddish and a couple others who were on minutes limits. I think Gabe Vincent might have been as well.
Well, Christie's getting up there. You want to keep those minutes down. Old man. It is. Yeah, look, I mean, Max Christie, say what you will about scoffing at a minutes limit. He has officially arrived in the NBA because there are celebrity dating rumors around him. Jenna Ortega is now linked to Max Christie. Just goes to show you get yourself a spot in an NBA rotation and a contract extension, and man, your life improves quickly.
They were reportedly seen at Nobu in Malibu, and if you are familiar at all with LA, you know that's a big deal.
It is.
It's a big deal if a couple is spotted at Nobu.
And you know what? I mean, Jenna Ortega, I assume, probably makes as much or more than Max. I'm not sure. I mean,
actually, no. I'm going to say the entirety of Max Christie's contract is likely more than Jenna Ortega's made in Hollywood.
Right. She probably has more cash on hand, given having done the work. But anyway, at the very least, they can both go to Nobu, and each one of them can argue about picking up the check, which is really adorable. So congratulations to Max for reaching Austin Reeves
allegedly
Austin Reeves levels of celebrity intrigue with his dating life.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, so it was a disjointed, and when you see Austin not playing, when you see Reeves on a minutes restriction, there were some unusual combinations, and so it was a herky-jerky game offensively. The Lakers are still not hitting a lot of shots, which is fine. I don't need them using out all up in the preseason. But to your point before, the seriousness with which I think they're engaging in the preseason process is much higher this year than last. People are going to say that's a dig at Darvin. It's actually it's not. It's context. Although we will get Darvin spoke to Dave McManaman in about his tenure as a Laker. We'll get to that after the break.
Man,
but
same bleep happened during Frank Vogel's last preseason as well. Like truly, we're not making this a dig at Darvin. It's not
a dig at Darvin. But the Lakers, because context matters. The Lakers were coming off at Western Conference Finals. They sort of felt that continuity. Guys were, shorter offseason, all that other stuff. And this year is a totally different deal with new coach. It turned sour, obviously, with Darvin at the end of last year. Different sense of urgency, different sense of disappointment this year than last. But they are clearly taking it more seriously with their combinations. Who's playing when? Last year, I'm not even sure LeBron would have made the trip if they had to go to Milwaukee. They might have left LeBron and AD in LA. This year, both of those, not only they went, they played. So it's just, I think that's important. So let's get to connect. Let's get to some of these guys. Traore Olivari, and some of the stars of this game. And we'll tell you what Darvin said next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. The best concert I've ever seen in my life is George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic. It was in 1992, the Palladium in Hollywood. They played 5 hours without a break. And ever since then, I've been chasing a concert that could top it. A couple have come close. Prince at the Forum, Neil Young at the Greek, a different George Clinton concert at the House of Blues. And as I keep looking for the concert that could be the new number one, I'm always going to use Game Time because they make it easier. You can actually look forward to the process of buying tickets with features like Game Time Picks that filters out all of the confusing, flowery words, and they just show you the incredible deals on seats, and they save you time, which is all you want. And they offer features like panoramic seat views before you buy, so you know exactly what the view to stage is going to be like, what your surroundings are going to be like, and they take the guesswork out of buying tickets. So go to Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off.
So Dalton Connect was 5 of 16 in this game, and I will tell you in a second here why I am encouraged actually by 5 of 16, including 2 of 10 from 3-point range. But just, because people will be talking about it Friday heading into the weekend. Lakers don't play again until Tuesday, so there's time to kick this stuff around. Darvin Ham in this story from Dave McMahon actually is told Dave on Thursday, quote, "The state of the team when they hired me up to the day they fired me, I like to think it improved, and that's all I care about. I poured myself, my heart and soul into that team, trying to improve it from where it was, 33-49, and get to that Western Conference Finals in 1 year. And to get to that Western Conference Finals in 1 year, have guys benefited from it financially, to have that excitement going into that next year, get derailed by injuries, still manage to win the in-season tournament and get in the playoffs. I thank God every day. Again, I'm completely grateful. I wish that franchise nothing but the best. I'm not mean or angry or bitter about anything. Some people have certain opinions, and those are opinions, but if you really look at the facts, there's not too much for me personally, I have to say. So that's it." He's doing two things at one time. He's both sticking up for his tenure and his work, which you would expect, and he is taking the high road, which you would expect.
I mean, Darvin has a history with the Lakers. He was part of Mike Brown's staff, a decade or so ago, and we actually covered that team. We had a few side conversations with Darvin. Both were very impressed with him in that moment, and he always felt like one of those guys that was eventually going to get his shot as a head coach. He's had a terrific reputation for a long time. Both of us feel like he will get another chance at a head coaching job, and he deserves another chance at a head coaching job. I would frankly be stunned if he never got another one. And he is correct that the franchise was better when he left than when he arrived, even taking into account all the things that people did not like about last season, much of them justified. And he didn't just lose the locker room. He lost it, I think, very, very rapidly and very outwardly in a way that I think ultimately, never say never. Both of us were pretty shocked when Phil Jackson came back the second time after not just the way he exited the franchise, but the stuff that he said about Kobe in the book that came out like 6 months later. Not a lot of people saw that coming again, much less working out. So never say never, but I would say it likely was not salvageable in a way that they needed. But I think Darvin has I think he has a right to feel all in all proud about what he did. And it wasn't perfect. And I hope that with pride comes some introspection about the areas where he could have been better. But I don't think, I believe him when he says he's not bitter, because I don't think he necessarily has a reason to be bitter either.
I don't think he's bitter. I think he is smart. I mean, look, you and I have been laid off. I mean, you work in media a long time, you're going to get laid off from jobs. You work in coaching, you're going to get fired from jobs. I know, we've been laid off twice by ESPN, and certainly
we're back with them now.
And we're back with them now. The first time that happened, people love to hear dirt about ESPN from former people who work there. And multiple people approached me, like trying to get me to say bad things about the company when I got laid off. And I was treated well when I worked there. I was treated gracefully when I was let go, both times. And so I had nothing bad to say. But even if I did, I wouldn't have said those things because that's dumb. It is a small community working in sports media. The people that you work for in one place are often the people that might end up hiring you at another place. Like, it is silly to burn bridges in that way. Coaching in the NBA is the same. So it would be stupid for Darvin to tee off on the Lakers. It would make it hard for him to get a job anywhere. That said, in his private moments, do I think Darvin thinks he was scapegoated for last year's failures? Absolutely. Do I think Darvin believes he was treated fairly? I don't think he does. Stuff was blamed on him that wasn't his fault, and all of that. And I look, you and I were very enthusiastic about Darvin being hired. He did, I thought, had a very successful first season. The wheels came off in the second season in ways that I think were unexpected to everyone inside the organization. And when you talk about, like, what do you learn from the first job to the second job, like, Darvin didn't adjust to the context of season 2 well. And so he was able to coach very successfully in one context and unsuccessfully in another. And we talked in the first segment about the difference between last year and this year. Nobody's taken up for Darvin. I think all these guys think Darvin's a perfectly good human, like a good guy, like, and like him on a personal level. But as a coach, it is interesting to me that, like, you just don't hear anybody really taken up for him. And they are clearly happier for the time being with JJ Redick than they were last year with Darvin Ham. And you see that enthusiasm translate into the investment in practice. You see it in the investment in the preseason and the way that they're approaching it, the words that are coming out of their mouth. And then I do think Redick has made some process improvements that the team appreciates.
Yeah, sure. I don't agree with anything. I disagree with anything you're saying. I just meant I doubt he's bitter, because he doesn't strike me as somebody who gets particularly bitter, certainly over a long period of time, like since he's been fired to where we are now. It's just,
to me, what's really important about this is the difference between last year and this year, and how players react, whether things were Darvin's fault or not. Nobody was happy. And so bringing some of that joy back into it, bringing some of that enthusiasm and happiness, where you feel like one of the impediments and the burdens and the piece and the bits of tension that were there last year. That's why these first few weeks with Redick are so important. If you can maintain that, because this is part of what's going to help fuel the Lakers to reach their ceiling. And it doesn't matter if it's fair or not to Darvin. The fact that it's someone new creates enthusiasm that the Lakers clearly have.
Yeah, this was ultimately, whether with Redick or not, a new coach was the route that they had to go. So far, it seems to be the best thing for the Lakers. I think Darvin's in a good situation now. He's with a coach that he has familiarity with, an organization that he has familiarity with. And again, we both think he's going to get another shot at head coaching, and we both think he deserves it. Let's hold off on Connect until Monday, because we got more time with them. This is the only time we will ever get to talk about Olivari, Traore, and these guys. Like, they deserve their moment.
He's wearing a suit and tie, like a jacket and a tie, in his ESPN profile picture, which I've never seen before. Like, they didn't even Photoshop him into a uniform. He's wearing like a sport coat, and like he's dressed for like my job or something. But he was a star of the fourth quarter, and Redick had some really interesting praise for him in terms of being a guy who is executing what the Lakers are trying to get done. So we'll talk Olivari, Armel Traore, and a few more reserves next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL fans, you can enjoy the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Let's just say you're watching a game and it feels like you just got the action wired. Every single touchdown you're predicting, you predict a big turnover, a sack coming, what plays they're about to run. It just feels like you might as well be in the huddle with these guys, but you just want to confirm your hunches. You can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you would place your bets. And you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. And the NBA season getting closer. Our friends at FanDuel have options for you. As of this recording, the Lakers are 35-1 to win the title. Anthony Davis, 150-1 for MVP, also 25-1 for Defensive Player of the Year. Dalton Connect, 10-1 for Rookie of the Year. Max Christie, 150-1 for Most Improved Player. That's FanDuel.com.
So for those of you who are more like me and maybe not familiar with Quincy Olivari's biography, he is a 6'3", 200-pound rookie guard from Xavier, and played really well in this game Thursday night. And the part that really stuck out for me wasn't just like, the praise, he had a couple 3-pointers, played well defensively, showed some athleticism and so on and so on. It was the comment from Redick where he really praised Olivari for being someone who was executing the game plan as effectively and really showing a blueprint for everyone, starters included, about what it is that they want them to be doing. So I thought that was particularly high praise coming from the head coach.
It cannot be overstated how much JJ Redick was praising the efforts of Quincy Olivari. He only played 9 minutes in this game, 11 points on 4 of 6 shooting, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, plus 20 in 90 minutes. Him and Armel Traore were both.
Yeah.
I don't care what the setting is. That is damn difficult to do, to be plus. There was a 20-0 run in that fourth quarter that those two must have been a very, very large part of. But that is statistically.
If Redick wasn't such a coward, they'd have played more. They won this game by 200 points.
That is statistically amazing. And Redick talked after the game about how Olivari has a cross-country background. He ran, and he's always in just incredible shape. He's won a lot of preseason drills. He talked about him having an infectious spirit and soul about him, even though he's really not a particularly talkative guy. I joked after the game on Twitter at Cam Brothers, based on the way Redick's talking about him, I'm expecting a statue of the guy in front of the crypt. But Redick also said something that really jumped out at me, and I'm paraphrasing it a bit, but he said that Ray Allen once, when I don't remember if it was when they were teammates or just a conversation they had or whatever, but that every moment on the court for a player is an audition or a tryout or something in front of an audience that's watching, and it can matter. And it reminded me of during the championship season, the 2020 season, when Brian and I were covering the team for The Athletic. I wrote a piece about how Jared Dudley, Quinn Cook, and Troy Daniels, 3 pretty deep reserves on that team, would stay ready. What does it mean to stay ready? What's the process and the science behind something that's both a cliche and it's real? And Troy Daniels told me this really, I thought, pretty profound story about how if you ever go to an NBA game, if you can get there early so you can watch these guys warm up, because warm-ups are amazing. First of all, if you watch these guys in their pregame warm-ups, you would think that's the whole game. Most of us would collapse.
Particularly the reserves. They're working.
These guys often have to shower in between their pregame workouts and the actual game. But some of these guys, you would collapse and die from the stuff that they do pregame. And Troy Daniels told me about, for those who don't remember Troy, he was a shooter. That was really his calling card. and he would do his pregame shooting warmups. And he used to say that he would treat that like a live performance. He knew that there were people watching. Sometimes it was fans, sometimes it was scouts, but he would treat that as if it was like a game within the game. And he said to me, quote, "I know people are watching, so I'm always working out as hard as I can. There's always somebody watching, whether it's another GM, whether it's a little kid that wants to be in the NBA, they're looking at me. Guy 13 in the rotation, guy 14 saying, this guy is doing it. I can do the exact same thing." And again, it just gets back to the idea of the seriousness with which you treat whatever you do in this setting. And a guy like Quincy Olivari, like, do I think he made the team from this? No. Do I think he made an NBA team of any kind from this? Not directly, no. But you do this with the Lakers, you're going to see some articles written about you. Like, somebody's going to notice.
He put himself on a list of players around the league because everybody, I'm not sure every scout like breaks down every piece of tape from the preseason or whatever, but they read, they watch highlights, they see clips, whatever. He's now on somebody's list of like, oh, you know what? When the G League season starts, if he's playing still with South Bay, if he hasn't gone over to Europe, or whatever, I'm going to take a look at that guy. I'm going to watch him, see what happens. And that's true. I mean, I was this, at least of the games that I've seen, I thought this was as good as like Traore looked. He only played 9 minutes.
He's very good.
But he did not have a particularly good summer league. I don't think he's one of the Lakers' two-way contracts.
I thought he was good in spots. I don't think he was great throughout, but I thought he had some.
Looked very raw, which is sort of what he was as advertised. And by the way, Olivari is signed to an Exhibit 10, so if you want to look that one up, but
that's the pretty standard one.
Right, but even that, it's like the what makes it different than like it's like a training camp thing, and it gives you like a path, like a little more money and a path to to an easy path to the G League.
It's basically about teams trying to stockpile certain players for their G League teams. You give them more. It's similar to how two-way contracts incentivize staying with your
right. So when you inevitably get cut from the training camp roster, you get a little bit of extra bump. You go down to the G League team. It's a reminder to me, like we saw. I thought like Castleton showed all the stuff that he's kind of good at, all the stuff that he shows him to be kind of a fringy NBA player. Like I think he's very much a 4A guy, but Olivari, for example, talked about being, patterning himself after Gabe Vincent, like looking at Vincent, being like, that's a model for me. I forget who it was last year who was, a young player who was also compared himself to, I think it was somebody who compared himself to KCP, who was looking at KCP as a role player. I know you know what I'm talking about, but like,
yes, I do.
The player doesn't matter. The point is, what I think is important about these things is, you see guys like that. And this to me is something that we'll get to eventually when we start getting back into this Bronny stuff, because that is, with Baxter Holmes, story Baxter Holmes wrote for ESPN, back in the news again. Like, these guys understand the path to the NBA for somebody like Quincy Olivari is to be like Gabe Vincent. It's not to learn how to score like a frontline guy. Nobody cares really that you can put up 20 in the G League. Or 22 a night, because that's almost always not going to be what an NBA team wants you to do. So these guys understand who they have to pattern their game after. And what I'm really curious to see is how the Lakers are going to take Bronny James, Colin Castleton, Quincy Olivari, to whatever degree they think guys who might actually stay in their program for an extended period of time, and use them at the G League level in ways that might reflect what their pro career looks like. Because you're going to start seeing more and more players brought up from the G League who average 9 points a game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, or whatever it is, have relatively unimpressive statistical profiles, but they fit into because they need a guy to come up who can set screens, who can hit a shot from this spot on the floor, who are really good connectors offensively, who switch really well, who whatever it might be. it's good. They're training people at that level to be, I would think, I want to see from the Lakers standpoint, you're essentially training people to be role players. And what does that look like? So that's something to me that I really want to see. But kudos to somebody like Olivari. It's a reminder, like, these guys are so good. Like the players that we think we make fun of and say, like, we don't bother learning who they are and all these other things because they're going to be
well, you don't.
Right. It is important to always remember these people are the top 0.001% of basketball players on the planet. The problem for Olivari, at least is insofar as the NBA goes, or some of these other guys who are on the roster, is that you need to be in the top 0.0001 to have like a real NBA spot. But like, appreciate how hard this is for even to get onto a training camp roster for a player at the NBA level. They should all be congratulated for that opportunity that they have earned for themselves. And so good for him for taking 9 minutes and perhaps paving a way to a two-way contract somewhere else down the road, or a really good contract in Europe, or whatever it might be. He deserves a lot of credit for that.
Few final closing things. First of all, is Demoy Hodge, who said that he was looking to compare himself to KCP, model himself. Second, want to give a recommendation for a really fun read on The Athletic ahead of the upcoming Hall of Fame induction. We talked earlier in the week about how Jack Nicholson is entering Springfield inducted as a Lakers superfan. And Doug Haller at HALLER, if you're looking for it on Twitter, Google search, or whatever, at The Athletic, has a really fun piece about Jack Nicholson's time as the Lakers' highest profile fan. Really great details, stories. If you subscribe to The Athletic, it's a really, really fun piece. And finally, I want to give a shout out to Danny Green, who announced his retirement. He was part of the 2020 championship team. We were around him. Really, really great guy. Like he was beyond being just like a pro on the court and with his team. He was fantastic with the media covering him. Like very generous with his time. Always very thoughtful when we spoke with him. Really good sense of humor. So best wishes to him. And Karat, I believe he was either I don't remember if he was second round or if he was undrafted. But either way, he was not somebody pegged to be a star, and he ended up with 3 titles on 3 different teams. That's pretty awesome.
Danny Green, now you just got me looking it up, was when it's high school draft, second round, 46th overall in the second round of the 2009 NBA draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
So 15-year career off of the 46th pick. That's getting it done.
Good for him.
I know we always talk about like should there be a wing of the Hall of Fame devoted to role players? If there was, then Danny Green could certainly make a case for it. So
he's one of very few players who won with 3 different organizations. I believe he was a starter for all 3 of them. So good for him.
Great career. Really cool. Great career. Yeah. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, so we're going to go hang out with over 25,000 subscribers to the channel. Again, all of whom are checking my grammar. We will be back. No games this weekend, so we will be back on Monday. Make another Locked On podcast your second listen of the day. Get ready for the season with Locked On NBA. That'll get you around the entire league, let you know what's going on around the conference, and keep you prepared. We'll see everyone Monday.